Go ahead. This is your testimony, and you're being anonymous because of, and it's your, what do you feel?
There's definitely fear of retaliation, and I need to be anonymous. Definitely be anonymous. And it's been about 10 years that I've had incidences with, or more, that ordinance enforcement has said things like, there's a safety hazard, the neighbor kids would get hurt in my yard. And I said, I don't know of any neighbor kid playing in my yard, and it would be trespassing if the kids were in the yard. So, and I don't see any more safety hazard than anyone else's yard. Everyone has trees, so.
I'm going to move back a little bit, babe. I'm just going to scan the yard a little bit. There's nothing in the yard except the car. Our car, pretty much.
And
nice and clean.
Was like, when I first moved in, I had my neighbor's blackberries and bushes that were about 20 feet into my yard, and I have that all cleaned up, and there's really, I don't dare do anything that might turn into a violation. And number of vehicles I've lost, I believe there's 5 vehicles. I gave a vehicle to my friends to store one of my vehicles, so they wasn't on the property. The vehicles weren't leaking oil or being a hazard, but they're declared hazards because they're not running, and I didn't have the money at that time to repair, so there was a conflict of interest where I wanted to get things done, but I wasn't able to.
May I ask a question? How were they able to determine your vehicle's operational or non-operational?
Assumption.
Okay, so the word assumption.
They look to see if there's a grass growing around them that's not trimmed down. And they also can fly over and then take the overhead pictures and from one year to the next year and see if a vehicle is moved on your property or not. So even if your property is fenced, they can still invade your privacy by using aerial photography.
It's a definite violation of our Fourth Amendment rights, let alone the Constitution of Oregon's rights for our people.
So, and then when I went to court, David Mueller showed up that morning and took pictures of this. Well, it's a different car, but he took pictures of it, and he said that there's hazardous waste in it. So that evidence wasn't even given to me until right in the court, and you're supposed to be advised of what you're being tried on before you go into the courtroom. And he also said that if I got a lawyer, he'd use the city lawyers, and while I was in the courtroom, the city lawyer came in, and then I asked them if they were trying to seize my property like ordinance enforcement did in Portland. And he reassured me they weren't going to seize my property. But I live in fear, and I don't go outside. And if I I try to keep a low profile and not be, ordinance enforcement's already been by 2 to 3 times this year. 2 times I know of positively that they've been by. And so now they're working on my other neighbors. And there's a man across the street that's kept his car. It's pegs are like back in the 90s, and it's a 70-something GTO. And you can tell by the lines on the tarp what year, what the style was. And I've talked to him about his car, and he says that car is an antique, collectible, whatever. And so I don't know how he managed to keep his car. Maybe he has a good lawyer. And there's a man up at the end of across from the hospital who has a yellow Nova with a tarp, and he took the front tags off, and he's allowed to keep his vehicle about up the street and over. That's be about 3 blocks from my house. There's a backyard that has 2 vehicles, plates expired. Do not look operational because there's grass and stuff growing around them. That's an assumption. And just, it seems like either someone is continually turning people in, and ordinance enforcement is not telling those people that they need to mind their own business, or whatever, however they take care of the constant complainers or something. But to assume that I'm storing hazardous waste, garbage, they call it, in my car. So they've threatened me with fining me with hazardous waste, and they told me that even if you leave a shovel laying in your yard and it gets rain in it, it can grow mosquitoes, so you have a vector safety issue in your yard, and that's a fine. A pot that's not being used and the rain could get in it and mosquitoes could grow. Anything left in your yard, basically, that was when the woman ran ordinance enforcement. I forget her name, but she and David Mueller both were saying that anything...
Nancy Bush?
Yeah. I think her name's Bush something. And that it's just like anything they can trump up and get you on. And then, like I said, the day that I went to court, he came out and took pictures and then entered. Not only was the one vehicle was I being tried for, but both of them. So because both vehicles were legal and everything at the time of my court hearing, they didn't fine me any money, but I have an ordinance record now, and I don't want to do anything in my yard that would constitute any other violation, so I just grow grass and mow it, pay to have it mowed, and it's totally ridiculous. And
now these people are basically employees of the people of the city, right? These are employees that work for departments of the city.
Yes, my taxes pay their wage.
Okay, and do you feel that you're being treated fairly?
No, because like I said, I see people that have vehicles that are expired, and they don't do anything about, they're not like going out and inspecting the city. They wait till people call up, and then after you get a case, they just come by. They don't, it's like they're not really working. They're sitting at their desk, and then they're reviewing the old cases. They don't go out and look, and, and it's also, it's not very friendly. It's very Hitlerish. You feel like you're just gonna, like they're Nazis. And, like, you can't do anything about it because you don't have any money. So I want to sell my house and get out of this city because I'm tired of being intimidated.
I'm so sorry.
So I don't even enjoy my property. So why live in a city if you can't enjoy, if you're in fear of what people are going to say or think or turn you in? And so I don't the lady that turns people in, that lives, I saw her out walking a couple of days before ordinance enforcement drove by. So I know when she was walking by, I knew what she was doing, because
I think you're trying to say that there are people who have been put against other people in our communities to be like kind of busybodies and watchmen against us?
I have no idea, but I see her out walking, and over there, Tiffany and Steve, I've seen them out walking, and, it's summertime, and so they take a walk every evening, and of course they have to go past my house, and look, and and my yard's not nice like their yard, and so and this lady that lives across the alley, she has 2 fences, so you can't even see in her yard, and she sprays poison out in the alley, and takes walks and turns people in.
What would you like to see happen? Some kind of a change, some kind of change in laws, disbanding of the code enforcement department?
Instead of people being reactive, I'd like to see them be proactive. And I feel a lot of this stuff is because of property values, and the people want their property value to be at increase in value. And if someone doesn't have their yard mowed or has a extra vehicle sitting on it, they feel like, oops, there goes the neighborhood, and their property value is going to be taken down, and then the city's not going to get the tax revenue.
So I'm looking at your yard, and it looks like it gets taken care of. I mean, this lawn is not over a few inches high, in all honesty, and people can see that on the video. It's fairly well manicured, and
well, I plan on asking the guy to come mow it again, because it's getting a little tall, and I don't want to have anybody get worried that their property values are going to go down because of my yard.
So you have one last word that you'd like to say to whoever is listening?
Don't buy a house in Oregon City unless you got money to build a big high fence and a garage to put everything you own in. And there's another guy across the street over here that's got, for years, he's had in his carport boxes of stuff stacked up. They're like banana boxes or apple boxes. I have no idea what's going on there. And he also has row after row of like pigeon houses or dove houses or something. There's another guy with his bird houses going down in the ravine. This street goes over to the ravine, and there's no guardrail there to protect people from driving off the end of the road.
You said that there was a man who had to clean out his garage, and he had some.
He doesn't get.
Did you say that his father tried to help clean his and had a
Oh yeah, the guy up the street, his old father got the letter, and from ordinance enforcement, the letter is like being a Jew, and the old man went out to try and clean up the property, and the old man, I don't know how old he was, 80s probably, had a heart attack and died.
Trying to support the code enforcement.
Yes, and also when Nancy Bush was in office, she went to a house about 3-4 blocks away from here, and the older gentleman who'd owned the property for years came to the door, and he swore at her and told her to get off the property, and she hit him, and they sued the city and won. And that's,
excuse me, ma'am, can I just hear the word? She hit him?
Yeah.
Assault and battery against a person of the city? I'm in shock.
The city lady hit the old man. And
this is Nancy Bush. You're talking Nancy Bush?
I think so.
Scott, Archer, Nancy Bush.
I'm not sure, but I think so. I wasn't there.
Mr. Mueller and Mr. Rowe.
Eye for eye, but you need to find that information out somewhere. And I pulled my files at one time. I wanted to get them. I wanted to look through them to see what all the city was saying. And I sent them some money, but I never because of my disability,
15
I had a hard time getting
Sure.
there, and I never got my files. But you guys, I will give you permission to get my files from the city if you would like to,
Okay.
and use them in any fashion that you see fit.
We thank you so much, and we thank you so much for your time, and we believe it'll be valuable for the people
And
of
I'm
the city.
sorry that I'm so paranoid about city enforcement and David Mueller and their clandestine operation. I forgive them for being so evil, but I don't want to have to deal with them anymore. Thank you.